Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips, which is brought to you by Wellness Forum Health, the Wellness Forum Institute, and Make Americans Free Again. A couple of announcements to start. First of all, very soon we're going to be releasing a new product. I'm so excited about it. It's a really hefty meal replacement bar. And I don't like meal replacement. That's maybe not the right term to use, but it's super filling. It has fruit and nuts and oats and keeps well. And we've been experimenting with this for a while. And so stay tuned for an announcement. We're going to let all of you buy it wholesale from us if you buy a box of these bars. And then if you happen to be in a retail business like we are, you can sell them retail. You can just buy them inexpensively from us or use them as fundraising tools, either for Make Americans Free Again or any other nonprofit that you might be tied to. So anyway, we'll have an announcement about those being available, more details very soon. Stay tuned. Next thing, it is only a few weeks before the Cancer Summit, March 21st and 22nd. And this will feature a number of guest speakers, including someone who's going to talk about press pulse therapy and the use of keto diets for advanced cancer. We're going to talk about the psychological and trauma aspect of cancer and recovery, water fasting, the psychology of survival, how to assemble a team to help you survive if you're a cancer patient. We're going to hear from cancer patients and their advocates and family members about how they survived, and lots of time for questions. So this is the time to get enrolled for that. Don't miss it. We will, of course, record it because no matter when we hold these things, we can't make the right time for everybody, right? So of course, we'll record it and make it available after the event. So the first item I'm going to cover is a correspondence from a subscriber who writes to me and says, and it was in response to the information I put out either last week or the week before about aspirin. So my subscriber writes, I take a baby aspirin every day after breakfast. I've done so since 2010 at the recommendation of my cardiologist, and I have experienced no complications whatsoever. Now he wants to put me on blood thinners. I'm resisting. What do you think about blood thinners? Here's my response. What I think about anything is pretty irrelevant. I've been advising people to run from health professionals who share opinions instead of factual information supported by references. So in this case, the best course of action is to look at the risks and benefits of taking blood thinners for your particular condition, as well as available alternatives like diet and lifestyle change, and even the option to do nothing before making a decision. And by the way, the option to do nothing is something to consider. Every single irregularity does not require a response. Anyway, the answer to these questions would depend on current health status and medical history. And for the record, and I say this often in my emails, anybody who would give a yes/no answer to a question like this via email with such limited information really shouldn't be in the healthcare business or advising people about health. I just could not resist making a comment about the aspirin issue. The fact that my subscriber has not been harmed by aspirin doesn't really mean much. I think one of the things that I can say about the dozens of new members who come in each month, they weren't harmed by certain diets or drugs or medical care until they were. In other words, you can get away with it for a long time, whatever it is. That's often the reason why people join. Something has finally gone wrong, and sometimes it's quite serious, like cancer. That's why we're having a cancer symposium at the end of this month. 99% of the time, maybe even closer to 100%, the first time our new members, who usually some join to prevent problems and they're healthy and all that, love that. But most of the time, it's because something is wrong. And it's the first time after joining that our members have looked at risks and benefits of their health-related choices and begin working with us and looking at our libraries and that sort of thing. And then the chorus of, if I had known then what I know now, I wouldn't have, and then you can fill in the blank, begins. Well, the time to look into things is before taking action, not after. And I will say that patient passivity in medicine is a very dangerous practice. Following directions is not something you want to do. And by the way, it's not just not following directions, unless, I've had people say to me, well, I told my doctor I wasn't going to do this and I wasn't going to do that. Okay, but that's different than having a plan for how you're going to regain your health and maintain your health and minimize the risk that you need medical intervention in the first place. So getting sassy with your doctor is, I guess, okay. I don't think that's necessary, but it's okay. But it's not a solution to the issue that I'm talking about here. And so while we're talking about members, I'll mention that right now we have a wonderful thing going on, and that is if you've never been a member, we will give you a gift certificate equal to the amount of membership dues that you invest. And if you're an existing member, refer somebody who's never been a member, and we will give you the same thing. We'll give you the same thing that we give that new member coming in. And so we can show you how to get as much as $1,000 worth of stuff for free. It's really worthwhile looking into. So my email address is pampopper@msn.com if you want more information. And by the way, speaking of free, as you know, we constantly put on free workshops to give people an opportunity to learn from us who don't know much about us or just love the stuff we put on. So the next one that's free, next workshop, is Wednesday, March 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern. 3 topics we're going to cover: research tips, like how to investigate health claims on your own, how to evaluate a protocol to see if it's beneficial for you, and what to do when there are confusing and differing viewpoints. How do you reconcile that? The second thing will be green tea and cancer. There are hundreds of thousands of articles in the medical literature about green tea and cancer. You need to know this information, both as a preventive tool and also for treatment. And then the third topic is, why is it so hard to lose weight? And I found a statistic that blew my mind. I think it'll blow yours. The failure rate for obese males trying to reach normal weight is 99.92%. The failure rate for females is 99.85%. So obviously what we're doing doesn't work. And I have put out some information recently about the GLP-1 inhibitors that don't make these data any better. All right, so you'll learn why these programs fail and how to really lose weight in a much more methodical way. All right, second news item. I want to talk about the revolving door at the FDA, and this is an argument for becoming informed. So an FDA official who is head of the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research and who oversaw the approval of many Pfizer products has just gone to work for Pfizer as chief medical officer. And I looked online to see what the news releases didn't say what her salary is going to be, but I looked online, and jobs like that at drug companies pay $400,000 to $500,000 a year. The woman's name is Patrizia Cavazzoni, and she worked for Pfizer before she went to work for FDA, and then now she is going back to Pfizer. According to an analysis by Fierce Pharma, under Patrizia's watch in 2023, Pfizer secured more approvals for novel drugs than any other drug company. One of those drugs was Velsipity for ulcerative colitis, which was shown to place 27% of patients in remission at 12 weeks. Well, that means that 73% of patients taking it did not achieve remission. Pfizer also won approval for its RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, in 2023 in a clinical trial that included about 34,000 people, adults aged 60 and older. The vaccine reduced the incidence of RSV cases, but the effect was statistically significant and clinically meaningless. In one trial, 2 out of about 17,000 patients taking Abrysvo developed symptoms of RSV versus 15 out of 17,000 who received placebo. So what this all tells us is RSV is rare, so why are we vaccinating anyway? And Abrysvo is unnecessary and almost useless. Side effects, by the way, include Guillain-Barré syndrome. So here's what I'm getting at, and this is a problem that has to be solved at some point in time. Imagine you're a regulator at FDA in charge of overseeing approval of drugs and vaccines, in this case, our friend Patrizia, some of which are submitted by your former and future employer. Well, how serious are you really going to be about efficacy and safety? Maybe statistically significant is good enough. I mean, who cares about little details like clinically meaningful differences and outcomes when $500,000 a year is at stake? Well, I'll come back to this is why consumers have to be informed. I mean, the corruption starts at the top with all these conflicts of interest and the revolving door from industry to government and back to industry again. And so research before action should be your mantra always. The last thing I want to cover is related to our upcoming boot camp or summit, cancer summit, and it has to do with stress and cancer. A new study of 121 women with breast cancer looked at the relationship between stress and cancer. Stress was related to overall immune function in the area around the tumor, and the biology of the tumor itself. And I'll just relate a few of the mechanisms here. So first of all, stress leads to higher levels of angiopoietins, which promote the growth of blood vessels and tissues. Many cancer treatments target this because tumors develop more blood vessels in order to fuel their growth. They take up glucose at 18 times the rate of normal cells. Obviously, this is a problem. The microenvironment around the tumor is another area of increased activity due to stress. Some immune cells, which are helpful, increase, but some that are not, like M2 macrophages that suppress immune function, are ramped up as well. At the same time, natural killer cells and helper T cells are downregulated. Higher stress levels also increase tumor mutation burden, resulting in more aggressive cancers. Daily prolonged stress was most consistently related to negative outcomes. And this is why I mentioned earlier, we're focusing on the emotional aspect and the psychological aspect of cancer, because it has a lot to do with your risk of cancer, and it has everything to do with survival. And I've worked with a lot of cancer patients and known a lot of cancer patients who've dealt with really dire prognoses and survived because of their determination, because they resolved a lot of their psychological issues, because they knew that they had to do that to survive. And then they made sure they were informed and made good choices and that sort of thing. So anyway, we know stress is bad for us. I think the big issue is, I think I went through a lot of my life without really understanding how bad for us it is. It's not just bad, it's really bad. And it is a modifiable risk factor. For one thing, you can just change your response to it. And another thing is, persistent stress is sometimes supposed to be a wake-up call to change other things in your life as well. All right, so if you've never been a member, or you're maybe thinking of upgrading your membership, that's another way you can qualify for some freebies. Send me an email at pampopper@msn.com. Annual pass members get to do the Cancer Summit and our upcoming Autoimmune Summit this summer for free, so you might even want to consider that upgrade. And then, we've got the freebie coming up on March 19th, and I hope a lot of you will be there for that. I think those are topics that are really interesting to people. So, as usual, pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it. And I will be back to you on Thursday with more news. Thank you so much for watching.